He is supposed to rule spiritually through the mysterious hidden city or center called Shambhala, the Celestial. To visit the sacred place was one of our fondest hopes. It is supposed to be buried deep under the sands of the Gobi. We entered the city, accompanied by our escort, and were conducted to our lodgings, where our comfort had been provided for. A great crowd stood around outside for hours to get a look at us, as white people had seldom visited the city. We were invited to go to the monastery the next morning at 10, and we were told that we must make our every wish known, as all would deem it a special pleasure to serve us. We had an escort wherever we went, and a guard was stationed at our door to keep out the curious, as the inhabitants of Lhasa are accustomed to walk into each other's homes unannounced. We were the only diversion in their lives and could not blame them for their expressions of curiosity. If one of us went out alone, they would crowd around with the evident intention of finding out whether or not we were real, and sometimes this inspection proved rather disconcerting for the recipient of the inspection. The next morning we were up early, completely refreshed and prepared to go to the monastery to meet the high priest, who had preceded us only 2 days. As we left the city with our guard, it looked as if all of the inhabitants had turned out to do us honor. As we approached the monastery, the high priest came out to meet us, and to our surprise, Emil and his mother were with him. It was a wonderful meeting. The priest seemed like a boy again, saying that he had wanted to see Emil or some one of our friends. He felt that he had failed in many things and wanted to talk to them in order to get a more complete understanding. He also gave us our first news of the little home that had been erected in the village where he had charge. We found him speaking English fluently and very anxious to learn. We went to the lamasery, where all were made comfortable. Turning to Emil's mother, the priest said, "Power is a demonstration of the active principle of God, my Father. It is always the constructive activity. There is never too much or too little of God's perfect activity and manifestation, and God never fails, is never inactive. God principle is always working constructively. I command that I do stand forth, and that I am in perfect harmony with the active God principle, and that alone." Here, Emil's mother took up the thought. "You can go on still further and say just as definitely, I pour this divine flame through you, my physical body, and you are transmuted into that pure substance which only God principle sees. Now it becomes necessary for you to accept and expand your consciousness to God consciousness, and you yourself revel in God. You do actually become God, one with the Most High. Man belongs in this higher state. Here, man is one with the essence of all things. He truly is God. Here, no division can exist. Do you not see that man himself can become God or demon? Can you not see that man's true vibratory sphere is the whole vibratory sphere of God if he lives in that sphere? This is the only scientific sphere, the only place for man, and the only place where he can bring forth God and be one with God. Such a man is certainly more than the human concept of man.